Alright, welcome back everybody to another episode. This is the same stream I've been trying to do, but I got a blue screen on the last video and I decided to continue this as soon as possible. So, we're on the final Helena Note. Well, the semi-final, because the last one, as well as Rockwell's and Mei-Yin's, are going to be the Tek Cave. When Nerva and his band return from the cave, they'll decide my fate, so this may be my final chance to reflect. I may as well take advantage of it. I realized that I had just ignored the signs and accepted this paradise at face value. I'd still be happy and free. Would that have been better? I don't think so. After a lot of thought, I've decided that I'd rather die seeking the truth than living in an illusion. That, as Rockwell would say, is the path of a true scientist. Not that I'm Galileo battling the church or anything, but hey, it's something to hold on to. Alright, so if you've been watching my stream, you'd notice that there's a few things we learned about Helena. That she enjoyed her life at first, just watching all the different animals, because she's a biologist from Australia. That's her story. She's a biologist from Australia who basically got isekai'd into the ARK. She ended up in a different world, or in a different whatever this place is. And as time went by, she learns that the ecosystem is not natural at all. It's more likely curated by something. That somebody created all this. In the process, she went into the Megapithecus fight and got captured afterwards. And she led one of the conquerors, a guy named Gaius Nerva, into the Tek Cave. And at this point, she's anxious because she doesn't know what's going to happen once Nerva comes back. And now we move on to Rockwell. From what we gathered from Helena's notes, he's pretty popular, and he appears to be an old Englishman. And that's probably him right there in the drawing. Probably not that old. I would say he's in his late 40s. But anyway. Greetings and salutations, dear reader. If these words are grazing your eyes, then you have had the good fortune to find this journal of Sir Edmund Rockwell, stupendous scholar, gallant gentleman, and explorer extraordinaire. It also means that it's entirely possible that I've met some unseemly end on this fascinating but exceedingly dangerous island that I call home. I suppose you could also have stolen it, or I could have misplaced it. In which case, please proceed to either hang your head in shame or return it to me at once, whichever is appropriate. Regards, Sir Edmund Rockwell. The wondrous properties of the flora on this island will never cease to amaze me. If I told my colleagues in London that I would create a concoction capable of erasing someone's memories, I'd be laughed out of the room and never invited to tea again. Yet here it is. Here it sits. My mind-wiped tonic. As usual, I've had tribal leaders groveling at the gates of Rockwell Manor just for the tiniest of samples. And for the recipe? Oh, the bounties I've been offered. I'm not interested in the riches, though. I have the protection, supplies for my studies, and all the time in the world. What more could I ask for? These tribal negotiations give me a headache every time. The Black Thumbs are mad that the Painted Sharks sunk 2 of their barges, but the Painted Sharks say that the barges were too close to the Sudden Haven, and they were perfectly within their rights to sink them. As for the Sudden Isle Accords, typically, neither side is willing to budge. What a bother. I'd just as soon mind-wipe the lot of them and return to my studies. Alas, such is the fate of the island's most respected neutral entity. At least the Painted Sharks brought some fresh fish. Perhaps I'll side with them. Any chemist worth his salt knows the irreplaceable value of testing. Until a tonic has been rigorously tested, it is less useful than water. If only I could persuade the island's less intellectual inhabitants to see that. tests on Mesopithecus serve well for early trials, but they are no replacement for genuine human subjects at later, safer stages. The Mesopithecus is basically the tiny little monkey. That looks like a spider monkey, actually. I have one on my other base. By subjects, I of course mean willing participants that are prepared to risk mild headaches and much less mild nausea for the sake of science. The Laughing Skulls offered rather less willing participants at one point, but I declined. But how difficult it is to find volunteers these days, I sometimes regret it. So this guy is kind of neutral in the moral compass. Miss Walker's impromptu visits are always unexpected pleasure. After that headache with the sharks and black thumbs, a lively tea-time discussion about the abnormalities of the ARK's ecosystem was precisely what I needed. Thank goodness I managed to find an intellectual colleague that shares my love for the sciences. It saddens me to think that Miss Walker's charming colonial accent will keep her out of the more prestigious institutions and societies back home. Another of the ARK's wonders, it is a true meritocracy, unlike any in the modern world. If Miss Walker and I could find and cultivate more minds like ourselves, we could create a true scientific utopia. Number 6. The expedition to White Sky Peak has been just splendid, top to bottom. The weather's been marvelous, I've found excellent floral samples, and the local hunters had more woolly rhino horns than you could shake a stick at. I even managed to find volunteers for my latest experiment. It turns out that it was simply a matter of linguistics. Those who are wary of experimental potions are much more receptive to experimental food. Once my endothermic paste was requested in fried curry, people were clamoring to test it. It has moderate nutritional value, so it's not technically a deception. It's just favorable language in the name of progress, that's all. Perfectly moral. So far what we know about Edmund Rockwell is that he's probably middle-aged, or he could even be old. He's an English gentleman, a chemist, actually. He's a chemist. And he's pretty popular. Sadly, my fried curry trials cannot begin immediately, as the volunteers have a much more difficult journey to Rockwell Manor than I. After all, I could very well carry every one of them on Archimedes. Yes, the Argentavis could clutch one in his talons, but I've always found the practice to be barbaric. The rest of the ARK may be embroiled in feudal savagery, but a gentleman always maintains his class and dignity. At any rate, I must have my assistants renovate the guest compound. Naturally, I will never let strangers into the manor proper, but there's no reason their stay should not reflect my civilized standards. Having readily available subjects has helped my experiments tremendously, even if their numbers dwindled over time. Not only was I able to curb the side effects of my fried curry's endothermic properties, but I managed to bring out an additional benefit of the mixture. Now it also lowers the subject's metabolism, letting them go longer without needing food. Marvelous. I hadn't even considered that as a possibility. Why, with all I've learned from these experiments, I imagine that I could reverse the effects of the fried curry and recreate a concoction to aid survival in extreme heat as well. I must find more volunteers post-haste. And yeah, the fried curry is an actual item in the game, and you make it in the cooking pot. And it helps you survive. I believe it helps you survive in the cold. The New Legion. We already know who these guys are. They are led by a man named Gaius Nerva, but more on him later. I decided to seek out volunteers for my next experiment among the island's larger tribes. I thought that surely they would be willing to help after I patiently moderated so many of their frivolous disputes. How idealistic of me. Instead, they have yet another favor to ask. Apparently there's a new tribe that's behaving rather aggressively, and no one can successfully negotiate with its leader, so naturally they have turned to me. It's rather bothersome, but I can't follow their logic. If Sir Edmund Rockwell cannot reason with this Nerva fellow, who can? Well, I found the reports of Mr. Nerva to be rather exaggerated, and as an Englishman, one might imagine that I view Roman leadership with some disdain. Oh yeah, this is where I stopped in the stream last night. Yet, in my experience, I found Mr. Nerva to be civil, honest, and intellectually engaging. In fact, after a lengthy conversation, I dare say that Mr. Nerva has the right of it when it comes to this island's politics. As the Romans created Pax Romana, perhaps this new legion will create Pax Arcam. Even if it doesn't, I doubt it will harm my research, so I see no reason to interfere in this particular squabble. How can these tribal leaders be so short-sighted? Yes, the members of the respective tribes who volunteered for my Battle Tartare and Shadow Stick Sauté experiments have been experiencing prolonged withdrawal episodes. But can't they see that the benefits outweigh the costs? Oh, he's one of those, huh? I created mixtures that can bring out superhuman strength, speed, and coordination in the ordinary man, and they can only focus on the negatives. Simple-minded, the lot of them. They've even banned their members from partaking in my experiments now. Ridiculous. I'll not let them stand in the way of human progress. They may not understand the importance of my work, but surely my assistants do. You know, I predict that this guy at some point will try to play God. I've decided to take a brief vacation from the laboratory. Well, I say that I've decided to, but the whole thing was my assistant Isabella's idea. She noticed that I'd been quite ruffled lately and suggested that I take a bit of time to myself before rushing headlong to my next experiment. Such an observant young woman, that Isabel. She's somewhat lacking as a chemist, but she understands my moods almost better than I do. I dare say that an old-fashioned adventure will do me some good. Nothing like some rigorous recreation to clear the mind. Perhaps I'll go spelunking. Yes, a splendid idea. I just know the place for it. And I actually recognize that place too. That's a cave in the north of my base. In the snow area. And Helena has mentioned that Rockwell went spelunking in one of her notes. So... oh jeez, where was I? Okay, nope. Was it this one? Okay. So 13. I gotta remember the note number before I start rambling. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. When I chose that remote northern cave as the site of my spectacular spelunking sojourn, I'd never imagined that I'd find such wonders within. Granted, I don't know what this specific wonder does exactly, but it's fascinating to examine. It's like nothing I've ever seen. I don't even recognize the materials that it's composed of, and it's constantly pulsing with some kind of latent energy. What is it? Is it unique, or are there similar artifacts just waiting to be discovered beneath the island's surface? My, how invigorating. Isabel was right. This was exactly what I needed. I feel like a young man again. Number 14. Eureka! My theory was correct. The small podium at the base of the obelisk is definitely responding to the artifact's proximity and vice versa. Honestly, I feel foolish for not attempting this sooner. The stylistic similarities between the artifact and the obelisk floating above the island seem so obvious to me now. Clear they were created by the same culture and era. Bizarrely, while both the artifact and the obelisk are in exquisite condition, there are no other signs of this mysterious civilization. How could that be? What kind of mad society would gallivant about some remote island, building towering structures and stuffing knickknacks into caves before vanishing without a trace? I don't understand it, but it certainly piqued my curiosity. So basically he's wondering what could have stuffed the artifacts into the caves, what could have made the obelisk, everything like that, and leave no trace whatsoever. Well, I think I've gotten as far as in my studies of the obelisk as my archaeological expertise will take me. A shame, really. This has been such a joyous little diversion that I hate to see it end. Ah, Rockwell, you old twit. You've forgotten the origins of this little excursion. Spelunking. Did you yourself not hypothesize that there may be more artifacts hidden elsewhere on this island? Surely you can't give up before confirming that. No, certainly not, nor can I be expected to scour the ARK's caverns alone. Perhaps someone can spelunk in my stead? Better yet, perhaps someone has already spelunked. Number 16. After many days of scouring the island upon Archimedes and many more fruitless conversations with the witless, savage sods that seem to make up most of the island's population, I have finally found the spelunkers I need. A tribe to the northwest called the Iron Brotherhood that had apparently found 3 artifacts themselves, and it's clear that said relics share an origin with my own. In exchange for my artifact, the Brotherhood agreed to report any findings to me straight away as they continued their search. What stupendously good fortune! Now I can return to my alchemical studies with renewed vigor while they crawl through the island's caverns in my stead. Brilliant. And we already saw this in Helena's Note. She met the Iron Brotherhood, and they're basically being killjoys around her because they went into the obelisk, they fought the Broodmother, and it didn't go well. So we can guess what happens after this. The first round of trials for my new Lazarus chowder have gone marvelously, but I have found it hard to maintain my enthusiasm. After all, I will never get truly definitive results with only Mesopithecus subjects. It is quite frustrating. Even so, I see now that Isabel was right. Having my assistants take part in the trials would be asking too much of them, and they are too valuable to risk so frivolously. If I cannot find human subjects from the nearby tribes, then I shall have to make do with the trials on apes and monkeys. Perhaps it is finally time to capture some Gigantopithecus. Which is the Sasquatch. That's the Sasquatch. I don't want to know what that goop is, but I think we know. I admit, there are times when it is useful to live among simpletons. For example, I was able to trade several gallons of my Lazarus chowder to a group of hunters in exchange for an entire contingent of tame Gigantopithecus. They never questioned whether it had been tested on humans yet. Well, I suppose if they return with another batch of apes, then I'll know that Lazarus chowder doesn't cause asphyxiation, won't I? It's not exactly a conclusive scientific trial, but I suppose it will serve. Unfortunately, all these primitive primates have given Rockwell Manor quite the pungent odor. Isabel said she is working on some sort of air freshener, but I hope she makes haste. So the apes are stinking up the place, huh? I am perplexed. Even with an expanded number of test subjects, I just cannot find the passion that I once had for my research. I truly thought that my recent adventure had lit a fire in my belly, but I constantly find myself losing focus. Confound it all. Perhaps said adventure itself is the problem. Thinking about it, I am always eager to discuss the obelisk and the artifacts I found with my assistants, even when I am not in the mood for research. There is a certain allure to them that I cannot describe, something that causes my thoughts to drift in their direction, like the pull of a strong tide. But it could simply be a passing fancy. I must give myself more time. At this point, he seems to prefer the artifacts over his own research. Something to think about. I was ever so glad to see Miss Walker again. My assistants are clever in their own right, but dear Helena is still the only person that I feel comfortable diving into my deeper theories with. So this was the time when after she went to Cardinal Island and came back to him to explain her theory once more that this island is not natural at all, but it's actually curated by something. This is the time frame I'm guessing this happened in. I feared that I may have kept her from getting a word in edgewise, though. Once I got onto the obelisk, why I just couldn't contain my enthusiasm. My word, I really have become quite enamored with the subject, haven't I? Well, that settles it. After this next set of trials, I shall go check on the Iron Brotherhood's progress. Perhaps I can convince Miss Walker to join me. We could make a real scientific expedition out of it. I wouldn't if I were you. We know what happened then. The latest Breath of Enlightenment trials have concluded, and as expected, I am disappointed in the results. Thought the primates I tested it on showed increased aptitude for learning. I do not believe any of them have truly ascended to a higher level of intelligence. Well, bugger the little blighters, I say. My assistants have almost finished preparing my supplies for my next expedition, and I have drafted a letter to send to the Iron Brotherhood ahead of my departure. Soon enough, I'll have forgotten all about it. Pardon the interruption. It seems that I have a guest. Now, just what is Mr. Nerva doing here? I suppose I'll find out. So on one end, Helena meets Mei-Yin, while Rockwell meets Nerva. I have always tried to maintain a strict neutrality when it comes to travel matters, but then again, I never had an offer this tempting from someone as respectable as Mr. Nerva. Not only has he offered to provide me with test subjects, but he has also expressed a mutual interest in investigating the obelisks. All he asks of me is that I provide him with reliable counsel. I would trust few tribes to be able to make good on such promises, but Mr. Nerva's new legion is perhaps the most powerful tribe on the island. Indeed, if they maintain their current trajectory, they may be the only powerful tribe on the island. His offer is worth considering at the very least. After much deliberation, I have decided to accept Mr. Nerva's offer. True, the new legion is not beloved by many other tribes, but Charlemagne beloved by his enemies. If my studies are to continue, I must be on the right side of history. As part of our agreement, I will need to travel with Mr. Nerva for a time, and wait to study the obelisks until the new legion has taken care of some smaller matters of foreign policy. As such, I have left Rockwell Manor in Isabel's charge. She will take excellent care of it, I am sure. Well then, on to the new frontiers. Excelsior! I admit, I have been rather coy with Mr. Nerva when it comes to the true nature of the obelisks. As a military man, the obelisk would naturally be more useful to him if there was some sort of weapon, and I have made sure to allude to that possibility from time to time. It is not as though I am selling my gracious host a falsehood. After all, I have neither any proof that the obelisk could be weaponized, nor any evidence to the contrary. Their purpose is entirely theoretical at this stage, and if twisting some theories will convince Mr. Nerva to march on to the obelisk any sooner, then so be it. So Rockwell has been implying that the obelisk could be weaponized, and he neither has proof that that's true or false. And at this point, he doesn't want Nerva to lose focus on the obelisk, because he wants to check him out too. He wants to unravel the mystery behind them. The new legion is finally on the march, and not a moment too soon. Mr. Nerva runs his tribe exceptionally well, but their compound is positively Spartan. I don't think I saw a single piece of decor anywhere. It certainly made me miss the comforts of Rockwell Manor, I'll say that. At any rate, we are apparently in pursuit of a barbaric beast queen. According to the man, she feasts on the flesh of her enemies alongside her army of monsters. Dreadful. Mr. Nerva is convinced that she is heading towards an obelisk, but I see no cause for alarm. No more heathen could hope to uncover its secrets, and certainly not alone. Okay, so at this point, we know, there's a lot we know at this point. Helena is with the Beast Queen, and apparently she's currently at war with Gaius Nerva. So it would seem that Helena and Rockwell are on opposing sides, but either side knowing, if that makes sense. Number 26, we're almost there. I am absolutely astounded, shocked, flabbergasted. Why in the world was Miss Walker investigating the obelisk at the side of such a savage woman, and without notifying me first? Was she intending to discover the secrets behind my back and keep them all to herself? The nerve, the audacity, and after I treated her with such respect and stability. Well, unfortunately for her, Sir Edmund Rockwell is always one step ahead of his rivals. Thanks to my partnership with Mr. Nerva, I can combine what scraps of knowledge she has on the obelisk with my own findings, and she'll be none the wiser. Why, since she is confined to a cage, I can keep my presence concealed from her altogether. So she doesn't know that Rockwell is there. Before arriving on this island, I would have dismissed the idea of a device instantly transporting a person from one location to another, as complete another poppycock. Yet, that appears exactly what the strange platforms beneath the obelisk are capable of doing. Astounding. Yes, there was a dragon on the other side. I am sure Mr. Nerva and his men fought quite a heroic battle. But discovering another slobbering beast is trivial in comparison. Imagine, one could go from one side of the globe to the other in the blink of an eye, and I'll wager that it's just the start of an obelisk's capabilities. I must learn more. I must. And here's the final Rockwell note. Well, second to last, actually, because number 29 is in the Tek Cave, just like the final Helena Note. I'm starting to become quite cross with Mr. Nerva's impatience. I had barely any time at all to study the obelisk before we set out again, this time to that cave Miss Walker mentioned. I wonder, does he believe that she knows more about the obelisk than I do? Nonsense. Any fool could see that I am the superior scientist. Besides, I am his official advisor while she is his prisoner. She isn't even privy to my presence. Nonetheless, I feel compelled to prove my scientific mettle. Whatever is in that cave, I shall be the one to discover its purpose. The mysteries of the obelisks are mine to uncover, not Miss Walker's, or even Mr. Nerva's. Mine. Alright. So, what can we learn from Edmund Rockwell? Well, that apparently there's two scientists on both sides of a war that happens later on in the story, and I believe it all culminates in the Tek Cave. What else? I know he's a chemist. He's from England, and he's actually been dabbling more with alchemy, which was a big subject back in when the 1600s, the 1700s. I gotta look into that actually. But next is Mei-Yin Li. The Beast Queen, as she was known in both Helena and Rockwell's notes. So here we go. And it appears to be Chinese. Or is it Japanese? We'll see. I have asked these questions many times since I... Oh, hang on. Where am I? How did I arrive? I have asked these questions many times since I awoke on this foreign shore, but I must stop. They do not matter. Their answers will not save me, so I will focus on a different question. How can I survive? This question always has an answer, though it is ever-changing, and it has helped me find resolve in moments of uncertainty or fear. Just days ago, I never thought I'd fear again. I thought my fear died with the yellow turbans. Yet when I see a great lizard turn its eyes on me, I know fear is exactly what I feel. Okay, so here's something. The yellow turbans was something that I've heard in the game Dynasty Warriors. And Dynasty Warriors takes place in the Three Kingdoms era. So it's safe to say that she comes from a time period just hundreds of years after death, AD. Now, one sec. Alright, here we go. Mei-Yin Note number 2. So she's actually from ancient China. That's confirmed. I am armed and clothed now, though crudely. My stone spearhead makes me long for my village's weaponsmith, but it serves. I use it to hunt the slow, fat birds that wander the coast. I do not know how such creatures survive here at all, but I am grateful for the meat they provide. I stake my arrows with more dangerous creatures, like the lizards with ears like fans, whose spit burns the things it touches. No, not just the creatures. they are not the only danger. Yesterday I found footprints on the sand that were not my own. I am not alone. Defending my hometown during the uprising taught me more in months than I learned in all the years before it. Among these lessons, man will always underestimate women in battle, and humans can be crueler than any animal. Both apply today. The footprints I found were not from one man, but three. Their eyes changed when they saw me, like wolves discovering a lamb. They were wrong. They were merely mutts. I was the wolf. Two died to arrows after ignoring my warnings. The last to my spear. I left their bodies, but out in the wild. I cannot stay here. The beaches are too open. To survive, I must brave the jungle. I'll say it again. She's beautiful. I'm already smitten. Today I scored a great victory. As the sun set, I happened upon a small village on a bluff. Unfortunately, it was besieged by a man who rode a lizard like a horse and wielded a stick that spat fire. It would have been safer to retreat, but I could not ignore the bodies. This was a slaughter. Surprise can be a warrior's most powerful weapon, and I wielded it effectively. My first arrow found the lizard's throat, and many more pierced the man's back before he tumbled from the saddle. He never saw his vanquisher. In hindsight, I should have spared the beast. A mount would be welcome. The surviving villagers let me claim the lizard rider's armor and weapons and gave me shelter for the night. To my surprise, I understood them. Their mouths moved strangely, but in my ears I heard their language of my home. They say it is the work of the metal object on my wrist. I do not understand, but they had no reason to lie. That night I dreamt of the uprising, but this time I was Lieutenant Guan, lifting the siege of my village in a single gallant charge. Yet, when I awoke, I was just Mei-Yin, and the villagers were gone. I am a stranger to them, but my heart feels heavy for their loss. I must carry on alone. Lieutenant Guan, I would assume that's Guan Yu. She's talking about Guan Yu. The villagers had made taming beasts sound simple, but my first attempt was nearly my last. My prey was the same kind of two-legged lizard as the raider's steed, what the villagers called a raptor. But this one was strong. Even as my tots and laced arrows knocked him out, he was able to make one final lunge on my arm. He nearly took it. Carefully, I fed him scraps of meat as he rested, and when he finally woke, I kept my weapon trained on him. Only when I was sure that he was docile did I notice his appearance. All black, save for his white shins and feet. Right then, I named him... Well, I gotta look on the pronunciation of that. And I shouldn't continue until I do. And while I do not believe in fate, I felt that this beast would carry me home. Right, just give me a moment. Well, there's any comments on this? Zay. Huh. Let's one more time. Zay. Oh boy. Okay. So I'm gonna go with that last pronunciation, and I do apologize for any Chinese viewers in the audience. Because I know from what she's describing, she comes from ancient China, and so I assume that name's in Chinese. And apparently the translation, it translates to not guilty or innocent of crime. So she basically called this raptor innocent. That's what I want to call him, but I'm not sure that's entirely correct. I'm not even sure if I'm going to pronounce his name correctly. Wujui. But anyway, I hope I'm not butchering the Chinese language, y'all, and I apologize in advance. Oh, hang on. Was this the right one? Okay. So we are on number 7. The raptors are improving. They know to follow Wujui, and Wujui knows to listen to me. Beasts without riders cannot maintain a formation, but they at least run close together. In time, they have even learned how to attack and retreat at my signal during our hunts on the plains. Together, Wujui and his 5 brothers are like a light cavalry unit, and I am their commander. Unfortunately, they're all I really have. I am not much of a craftsman, and I have few possessions. Not everyone here is like me, though. There may be some who can craft, but cannot fight. Perhaps we could trade. The defense went spectacularly. Like many tribes, Red Hawks relied entirely on brute force. They thought only of charging in with their beasts and their guns, with no regard for their surroundings. They never expected a sword, much less one that came out from their exposed flank. See, when she first met that raider, she only described his weapon as something that spat fire. Now she's calling it a gun. There's a lot she has learned from that point to now. Our victory was so complete that my benefactors not only rewarded me with the weapons and supplies they promised, but extra packs of animals to carry them. With each battle, my skills improve and my ranks swell. If only with beasts. I don't mind that. The people that I care about are back home. Until I return, Wujui is enough company. I was told this escort mission would be dangerous, but I had not expected to find a legitimate army. Fortunately, I was riding ahead of the main column and spotted them first. After signaling for the convoy to change course, I harassed the enemy from their flanks to draw their attention. Then I retreated in a different direction. Even that cost me. Many of Wujui's brothers were injured and some were killed. Previously, my enemies fought wildly or scattered when attacked, but these men had discipline. The leader of the convoy was very grateful. Apparently, few survive an encounter with this new legion. I should be wary of them in the future. So yes, once again, we run into the new legion, led by Gaius Nerva. And in hindsight, it looks like Mei-Yin started the whole thing, but she didn't know what she was doing at the time. She was only working as a mercenary, from what I'm seeing. Oh, there it is. Am I a mercenary now? I had not given it much thought until I was actually called one. I don't like the title. Mercenaries fight for riches, but I'm just fighting for what I need to survive. That's different, isn't it? When I fought back home, I knew who and what I was fighting for. I knew who my enemies were. Here I cannot tell. I am trying to be honorable by defending people and not attacking them, but how can I be certain? I cannot dwell on it. To survive, I must fight on. To return home, I must fight on. I've started to tame larger creatures. The speed of my light cavalry was beneficial, but I realized that it was not enough. 100 swift strikes mean nothing if there is no strength behind them. To survive enemies like the new legion, I must be able to strike with power. I began with the ones that looked like larger raptors, but with horns on their foreheads. Socarnos. They balance strength and speed well, and will serve well as the core of my forces. When I have enough horned raptors, I will add some of the giants. Maybe then I'll finally have the strength to find a way home. When I managed to tame a great spine lizard... Oh wait, I am living on an island. Worse, a cursed island. When I managed to tame a great spine lizard and a giant raptor, I left the jungle to find a way out of these treacherous lands. But I soon found myself traveling in circles. Worse still, I'm told that a magical barrier prevents ships from sailing too far from the shore, and birds from flying too high to leave the island. It was never a matter of strength. There is no path home at all. Wujui seems to sense my unease. These days I often wake to find him nestled beside me. At least I am not trapped here alone. So here we find out what happens when you wander too far. There's a barrier that blocks you. If you wander too far to the edge, a barrier blocks your path and you can't go any further. I laughed for the first time in weeks today. A man from a small tribe of fishermen sought to hire me, but he didn't call me by my name. He called me the Beast Queen of the jungle. I could not keep a straight face. I suppose I understand the title. Since my failed expedition, I have staked out a small swath of land to live on more permanently, and the locals know it as my pack's hunting ground. Still, I'm hardly a queen. My castle is little more than a shack. I'd rather be called a queen than a mercenary, though, so I may as well embrace it. Embrace the mercenary life as the queen. I wonder what father would think of me now. Would he be proud of me when I march off to battle? I know he wanted a son. That's why he trained me in secret. Would he accept the Beast Queen instead? Mother wouldn't approve. The other villagers were too desperate to care about my gender when I joined the fight against the Turbans. But Mother never forgave me. She wouldn't even look at me now. Should I mind? Those were Mei-Yin's parents, for Mei-Yin's life, and sometimes I wonder if that life was even real. Maybe I was always a beast, and never a woman. Is she slowly giving up and going home? Oh, hello. I have finally found a beast that I could not command. No, to call him a beast is not enough. He is a demon. I was stalking a pair of giant raptors, waiting for an opportunity to bring them into my pack, when he tore through the tree line to steal their kill. He dwarfed even the giant raptors in size, and in fury he surely has no equal in this world. When his foes bit at him, his eyes glowed with hatred and he struck with renewed vigor. Oh boy. I have never seen such terror. Even I dare not challenge this creature. If I am the Beast Queen, then he is the Demon King. She found a Giga and survived. That's a Giga. That's not a Reds, that's not a Carno, that's not a Yudi, nor anything like that. That's a Giga, because the Giga's eyes glow when they're enraged. And they enrage when they're at half health. A woman named Helena arrived at my camp yesterday, though not to hire me. She said that she was a scholar studying the creatures on this island, and that she wanted to observe my beasts. I turned her away at first, not trusting her intentions. How could I? What mad fool would bother with scholarly pursuits in a place like this? Yet she persisted, and in time I was convinced of her honesty. I don't know if I made the right decision. Helena is constantly asking strange questions. Why does she need to know so much about my beast's feces and mating behavior? What a bizarre person. When Helena arrived, I was constantly glancing in her direction, wondering just what she was scribbling in that thick book of hers. Now I hardly notice her unless she's speaking. The questions haven't stopped, but thankfully they aren't always about things like animal feces. Sometimes we just talk about something simple, like cooking. Neither of us are very good at it, but together we managed to make a few things that tasted better than plain meat. Oh, so that's how she looks at Helena. That's what she was drawing. Oh, that's nice. Yet before long, my territory will be silent once more. Helena says she has to move on, and war is brewing in the south. Someone will need my sword very soon. It's Nerva. She'll run to Nerva again. The war in the south is not an ordinary one. According to the member of the painted sharks that arrived to hire me, his tribe is fighting the new legion. I admit, they gave me pause. They were formidable before, and they've grown even stronger since last we met. Yet I have grown stronger too, and the sharks were clearly in desperate straits. I could not turn them down. I could not turn them away. As I ready for war, I recall a dream I had many months ago. I still don't believe in fate, but maybe this is my nature. On this island, maybe I can actually be like Lieutenant Guan. Guan Yu, I'm sure you've inspired many. But seriously though, if anybody wants to get into the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, or at least into Dynasty Warriors, go ahead and check them out. They're great. They'll give you some perspective of what the time period this woman lived in. My beasts are precisely what the sharks lacked. Most of their net martial strength lies at the sea. On land, they lack the unit with the ferocity of a true vanguard. But out that, they could merely withstand the Legion's siege, not break it. That changed when my beasts crashed into the Legion's rear like a great wave. I can still hear the cheers as the Legion fled. I can feel the echo of the emotion that swelled in my chest. If I could return home, I imagine that this is what I would feel like. I don't dare forget it. Oh, jeez. Sometimes I fear that I have grown fangs or horns without noticing. What else can explain the way the others look at me? In battle, the sharks cheer me, but afterwards we rarely speak. I camp separately, and only am summoned when it's time to discuss strategy. I do not understand. Trust is rare on this island. I know that. But have I not bled in their defense? Have my beasts not died fighting their battles? Perhaps it's just the strain of war. We're in Legion territory now, taking the battle to them. Soon the war will be won. Surely then the sharks will not fear me. My anger rises. Think of the consequences. I know this by heart, yet I cannot help but seethe with fury. Even Wujui is keeping his distance. Last night I awoke to the sound of thunder coming from the sharks' main camp. I rushed to their aid, but blinded by the night and consumed with panic, they attacked my pack. By the time order was restored, we both sustained losses. Clearly this was the work of the enemy, but those fools blame me for the confusion. Some even claim I torched their camp. How dare they question my honor after all I've done? Cowards! They have no right. Tensions rise. Here we go. I should have foreseen this. Though I put my pride aside, those audacious sharks could not. At their behest, I began the long trek back to my own territory this morning. They say that they will finish the war without me. Doubtful. Without my pack at the band, the new Legion will surely smash them to pieces. But what can I do? I cannot protect them if they do not want my protection. Will the Legion come for me afterwards? I cannot say, but if they do, I know that I will receive no aid. I must rely on my own strength, and right now I fear it is insufficient. I need to become stronger. I need the Demon King. He is mine. After a mighty struggle, the power of the Demon King is now mine to unleash. The cost was almost too great. I brought only my swiftest beast on the hunt, hoping to run him in circles, but even still he managed to kill many of them. Were it not for Wujui, he may have killed me as well. But my Wujui is both swift and cunning. He knew exactly what distance to maintain, exactly when to retreat. No steed could prove more true. Tomorrow I must begin acclimating the Demon King to life in my pack, but for tonight, I will allow myself to celebrate. I was wise to test the Demon King's hunting skills from atop one of the flying beasts. When he stumbled down a small rock formation, his eyes glowed with that familiar hatred, and suddenly he proved deaf to my commands. In time, he calmed down and obeyed me once more, but it was a fearsome thing to witness. I think I will keep him apart from the other beasts. Not only will it keep them safe, but it will calm their nerves. They have been tense since his arrival. I cannot blame them. The Demon King's power could save or doom us. I must use him with extreme care. That's why the Giga is a double-edged sword. He's easily the most powerful land creature in the game, but he can turn on you if his health goes low enough. Am I making a mistake? Maybe. The closer that pillar of light gets on the horizon, the more my concern grows. It is a gamble, no question. Helena said that she did not know if this pillar of light will behave like the other one. Yet if it does, if we are transported to some other plane to battle a monster for a mysterious key, then there's a chance that this could be the first step to the path home. If not that, then at least the path away from this island and the new Legion. Technically, Helena has hired me, but that small chance of payment is enough. It's worth the risk. I hope I am prepared. So yeah, as we saw earlier, they're on their way to the Blue Obelisk, because that is there where players on single-player mode fight the Megapithecus, the giant monkey. And there it is. Had I let fear rule me and left the Demon King behind, then Helena and I would be dead. Only with his strength were we able to defeat the gigantic ape. His rage cost some of my pack their lives in the aftermath, but that was the price of victory, the price of hope. The key we were rewarded with matches the one Helena already had. That means the third pillar must lead to a third key. And when combined, what then? It's uncertain. But if each pillar takes us somewhere, then maybe their combined power can take us anywhere. Maybe it can take us home. So there it is. She hasn't spoken about going home until now. Damn those new Legion cowards. At full strength I could have fended them off, but they attacked just as we returned from the Pillar of Light. To the Pillar of Light, sorry. What beast I had were exhausted, and the Demon King flew into a rage before I could start a retreat. When that happened, all hope was lost. The last thing I remember is a sharp pain on my side. When I awoke, I was alone with Wujui. Both of us were covered in blood, but Wujui's wounds were deeper. I cannot fathom now how he carried me to safety in such a state. I must find a place to hide. Wujui and I are alone now, and barely cling to hope. He's wounded. My dearest friend is gone. To his last he was magnificent. The creatures that attacked us were larger, and with his wounds they were even faster. But no beast could ever match Wujui in spirit. I buried him where he fell, saving me one last time. I was unworthy of such a loyal friend, but I will avenge him. His true murderers will pay. Not the beasts, but the new Legion. They are responsible. I swear by the souls of my ancestors that I will find their leader and drive my blade into his heart. In Wujui's name, I will take his head. And so for anyone that's paying attention, Wujui was a raptor. He was black all over except for the shins and the feet, which were white. Oh man. He was better from the beginning, and now he's gone. There's two more left, and the last Mei-Yin Note is actually at the Tek Cave, just like Rockwell and Helena's. So, 29. As I thought, the Legion was at the last Pillar of Light. I sighted them as they departed, and have been following them since. They are too many for me to fight head on. If they spot me, I will be killed. but I know how to hide from sight and mask my scent from their beasts. It did not take long to discern which one was the leader. No one else walks with his pride or gestures with his authority. I could probably have hit him with an arrow by now, but I want him to be seen. But I want him to see my face. I want him to know that the Beast Queen vanquished him. Semi-final one. Here we go. Number 30. Ah. I soon regretted freeing Helena from her cage before following the Legion through the portal they opened. She was too focused on the wonders around us. When she saw that most of the Legion was dead, she even tried to dissuade me from killing their leader. I knocked her unconscious. I wish her no harm, but I cannot let her interfere. At least she told me his name. Nerva. That is the man I will kill here, on the most fitting stage. I admit, it is beautiful. The stars shine so clearly I can think of no better place for my vengeance. Here, at the edge of heaven, let our battle finally be decided. So this happened at the Tek Cave, and she says she's at the edge of heaven. So what do we know about Mei-Yin? Unlike Rockwell and Helena, she started out alone, and she learned from other tribes how to tame animals. She started with Wujui, and then before she knew it, she had more raptors and even some cardinals and some other beasts that they weren't mentioned. She ended up taming a Giga, but I assume he was killed with her last struggle with the new Legion. So here it is, the man behind it all, Gaius Nerva. And given this drawing here, he's got that kilt. So, oh yeah, and Rockwell did say that he was Roman, so yes, that confirms his Roman heritage. So Nerva Note number 1, this is how it begins. It is the chaos of this land that is truly disturbing to me, even more than its most titanic and vicious beasts. Animals are meant to be savage. Even when tamed, they are not truly civilized, but man is supposed to be above the animal. Yet the people here live in squalor and fight viciously over scraps like stray dogs. I have convinced some of them to band together under my leadership, and together we have found safety and order. Unfortunately, they are untrained and lack cohesion. I'll have to fix that. And I believe he puts his signature at the end of each note, so we're just gonna ignore that. But I believe the Roman line at the bottom, I think that means victory through discipline. I am reminded of my first command in Asia. Many men questioned my rank, wondering why they had to follow a centurion so young. It took time to earn their trust, but it was necessary. I could not have even a single soldier questioning me in battle, lest their discipline fail. Without discipline, our centuries' formation would crumble, and the Legion would be exposed. It is the same here. These ragged men and women will not become a unit overnight, but I am patient and more experienced than I was in Asia. I may be far from Rome, but I know this for certain. This island will know its might. So he's a Roman centurion. Training grew easier once my chargers began to see the results. In fact, they found such a wellspring of enthusiasm that their drills and chores alone cannot contain it. This morning I found a flag flying above the armory. It was the symbol of the Imperial Legion, with one of the island's flying lizards replacing the eagle and words in the foreign language, placing SPQR. I am told they say the new Legion. I admit, I smiled at the sight. Very well then. It's time to find out if I created true legionnaires. We march at dawn. And it's currently an hour into the third stream, but we're almost done. I knew I'd chosen a soft target to test my men, but I had expected a little more resistance. The tribe we assaulted was young, but supposedly they had seen some success as raiders. I cannot see how, given how swiftly they fell into disarray. Some even attempted to flee, but they did not get far. After scouting their fortifications for supplies, we razed them to the ground and planted our flag among the ashes. Let every savage and tribal pretender know. The new legion has arrived. I am finally satisfied with our defenses against flying creatures. The solution was obvious once I stopped thinking about them as special. With any foe, the goal is to control their actions, so instead of trying to block flyers completely, we created apparent holes in our aerial defenses that entice attackers into kill zones. Our architect was grateful for the solution. We had been dreading trying to build a roof over the whole fortress. We had grown too large for that to be practical, and soon we will be larger still. Our first true war begins now. Soon, and I suspect many black thumbs shall defect before its end. Oh yeah, Rockwell mentioned that earlier. The black thumbs and the painted sharks. Excuse me, I need a drink. I'll be right back. What's up? Está bien. Por media hora acabo aquí. Alright, everybody, I'm back. I just had a sip of water, and before I continue, it's currently night over here. Wow. Okay. So, before we continue, I want to make this a little poetic. So, worry not, it's not going to take long. Victoria. Nope. Okay. There's Maelstrom the Spino. I never had a chance to use her. Don't worry guys, I'm almost done. I couldn't bring the rest of my animals here because they're on the other side of the map. But I want them to be together for this campfire. And as you may notice, the cooldown in between cryo tames is off, so I can pull another one immediately. I wanted to make this as poetic as possible because the island series is almost over, and pretty soon we'll be going to Scorched Earth. Come on, Yuri. Astrid. Right. This is the squad that's really important to me. Ever since I started on this island. And I'll talk more about them once I'm done reading the notes. But now I have the main squad together. So let's continue. No, wait. How could I forget? I just heard you. I just heard you. Where you at? Yeah, there you are. I hate it when the game does that. Okay. Alright. Sorry about that. We shall continue with the notes. So gather around, everybody. It's time to continue. I believe we just finished reading Nerva Note number 5. That's it. So we still got more to go through. Here we go. We're almost at the end here. It did not take long for me to grow accustomed to the weapons of this world, many of which are called guns, according to one of my lieutenants. They are far more accurate and deadly than any bow, but like any weapon, they are only as effective as their wielder. In the hands of the Black Thumbs, they are of no concern. In battle, we have been able to bait the Black Thumbs into attacking a wave of durable but disposable beasts before descending upon them with our main force. Our attacks are concentrated while theirs are scattered. That makes all the difference. Hold on, I gotta plug in my phone. There we go. The Black Thumbs are destroyed. Their leader was defiant, but his tribesmen did not wish to fight the inevitable. They offered us his head last evening. I suspect surrenders will be more frequent now. The Black Thumbs were the first, but they shall not be the last. Yes, I see it clearly. This is destiny. The gods have brought me here to bring order, to save these people from their own savagery. Janus pulled me across the bridge of time and space. Mars lent me his strength, and now I shall create my own empire in their name. I have allowed the Legion to take a reprieve from war, at least for now. We need time to gather our strength and plan our road to conquest before we march again. Augustus did not unite the Empire by rushing into battle, after all. Such things take time, and more importantly, information. As I write, my scouts are mapping out the surrounding lands and observing any tribes that may oppose us. I have no doubt that they are not all like the Black Thumbs. One could very well prove to be my Mark Antony, and when I find him, I will be prepared. Or find her, as you'll later find out, my buddy. While a prudent general must take his time to plan, I realize that comfort breeds complacence. So as my scouts range across the beaches and jungles, I have made sure to lead our main force out on regular raids. Our targets have been weak, mostly small villages or unsuspecting convoys, but they resist enough to keep my men's instincts sharp. Letting them keep their meager spoils of these exercises has helped morale as well. Our actions have not gone unnoticed, however. My scouts say that many tribes are avoiding our territory altogether now. Good. I fear some reputation will serve the Legion well. Who could have imagined that a simple convoy would give the new Legion the first taste of adversity? Before today, the idea would seem absurd. They must have seen our approach, because just as we spotted our prey, we found our left flank beset by a pack of beasts. Though the creatures were smaller in size and number, they struck fast. They struck together, and they never lingered. By the time we chased them off for good, the convoy was long gone. Impossibly, I spotted but a single rider throughout it all. Who is she? If Mars has blessed me, does Minerva harry me? No, I was simply unprepared. I will not be again. You know, it's funny he says that, because Minerva is the Roman name for Athena, and Helena is an Argentavis name, Athena. So, It's merely a coincidence, because we all know this is Mei-Yin. But still, it's worth it. It seems that some of our neighbors have grown wary of our raiding. Today I received an envoy from the Golden Arrows, who proposed a lucrative trade agreement between our two tribes, but to keep it that we never encroach on the territory of convoys of the Golden Arrows or any of their allies. I have no interest in trade agreements, but I do know how to seize an opportunity. So instead of accepting it right away, I propose that we ratify the agreement for the tribe's leaders on a neutral site. I have planned long enough. It is time for the new legion to resume its march. News of my rather definitive response to the Arrow's proposal has spread quickly, but few seem keen to act on it. Who can blame them? Without their leaders, the Arrows quickly folded, and the new legion grew significantly in power practically overnight. So he killed them. He killed the leaders during the agreement. The other tribes only managed to interrupt their cowering long enough to send another envoy, a man named Edmund Rockwell. Given the results of the last one I received, I almost didn't believe it, but apparently this man is special. The other tribes seem to respect him as a neutral party and expert on the island. We shall see. So this is when he meets Rockwell. I did not expect much from Edmund Rockwell, but he has surprised me. He has a curious way of speaking, but he clearly possesses a razor-sharp intellect and a wide breadth of knowledge. Though we only met for half a day, I gained invaluable information about this island, which is apparently called the ARK. I shall have to send a scout to pinpoint where Rockwell lives. In addition to his expertise on the ARK, he is known to create elixirs that have extraordinary effects. It would behoove me to keep those out of my enemy's hands. And you know something? Given Rockwell's records, he actually offered his creations to the other tribes. Like all he wanted was test subjects, but people were cautious of that because there were side effects to those elixirs. But now Nerva is determined to keep those out of the other tribes. So in a way, it might have been their own undoing, because maybe those elixirs would have helped these tribes. Maybe, maybe not. This guy seems to be too organized to be defeated by something like that. But anyway, let's continue. It seems I was not the only one who was skeptical of Rockwell's ability to curb my ambitions. The nearby painted sharks mustered up the courage to harass several of our coastal fortresses, but in doing so they confirmed their nature. During their raids, they only attacked from the air and sea. They patently refused to set foot on land. If the sharks are at home in the ocean, then I will pull our coastal forces back and attack their outposts on the mainland. Once the island fortress is cut off from support and supplies, I can whittle it down to rubble at my leisure. He's very observant too. Nerva is observant, but I guess that's due to years as a centurion, as a military strategist. The incident with the convoy was no fluke. The rider has returned, and this time we had plenty of warning. Reports of some beast queen joining forces with the sharks reached my ears days before the siege. Her ranks have swelled since the convoy, but there is no doubt it was her. Not only did she help break the siege, but for the first time in its existence, the new legion is in full retreat. This cannot continue. I will not allow it. I will conquer the sharks, as I will conquer the entire ARK. But first, I must destroy the so-called queen. We're halfway there to Nerva's notes. Mei-Yin, the beast queen of the jungle. That is the name of my foe. It is a name that I have already grown wary of, but soon I will never hear it again. It turns out that she is a mercenary not beholden to any tribe, including the painted sharks. So as satisfying as it may be, I need not actually defeat her. I must simply divorce her from her employers, and I know exactly how to do it. The seeds of my victory are already planted. So judging from the last from Mei-Yin's notes, he creates a commotion. The Beast Queen is no longer a concern. It was a simple matter, really. A small team of legionnaires planted explosives in the shark's camp in the dead of the night while leaving Hurst conspicuously untouched. Predictably, the explosions drew the Beast Queen's attention, but the sharks mistook her advance for an enemy attack. After that, it was only a matter of time before they parted ways. With the barbarian removed from the conflict, this land war will end shortly. We already pushed the sharks out of the Legion territory. Soon we will face them where they are strongest, the open sea. After taking the painted shark's last foothold on the mainland, this war has turned into one of attrition. While I construct a proper fleet, the shark's resources will continue to dwindle, and my flyers will continue to harass the main compound. When we finally stage our invasion, their spirits will be broken and their storehouses empty. In the meantime, I have been investigating this island's potential for naval warfare. Some sea creatures can carry a small ballista platform on their back, making them a curious sort of warship. I'm interested to see how they'll fare. Hopefully the sharks can offer a skirmish or two before they will break completely. So, there's only two creatures on the Ark, two sea creatures on the Ark that have a platform on their back, and they're the plesiosaurs and the mosa. The squids are also big, but they don't have a platform style. And I can see why. They're long, but not exactly big. Well, I mean, they are big, but I don't think they can carry a platform or a small base. Anyway. That's number 18. We got 12 more to go to. Today shall live forever in the annals of history. Today I raised the new Legion flag above the painted shark's battered fortress, and in that moment, my empire was truly born. In that moment, the new Legion became the dominant power on this island. With that in mind, I had given my troops 3 days to celebrate a victory. Though I shall not take part, my work is never done, and I mustn't lose sight of my true goals. Only when I have brought this island into a new age shall I be content. Only then shall I rest. When my scouts reported that they had finally found Rockwell's compound, I set out to meet him at once. While that meant delegating matters that others might find more pressing, I did not hesitate. Minds like Rockwell are a precious resource on this island. To have him as an advisor will be invaluable. Whether Rockwell accepts my offer or not, my visit has already paid dividends. Apparently he has spent some time researching the massive obelisk on this island, and theorizes that they may hold great power. If there is any chance that said power can be wielded, then I must learn all that I can about them. So yeah, and as we discussed before, as I explained before, Rockwell said that he was alluding that these obelisks could be weaponized, but he wasn't exactly truthful in that statement. These obelisks are fascinating. Apparently Rockwell managed to coax a response out of one of them with an offering of some kind. Could it be that they are some grand monument to the gods? If I appease them with a sacrifice, will they grant me their power? Yes, of course. Janus may have chosen me to rule this island by bringing me here. But I must prove my worth to the other gods by completing this ritual. Even now that I have Rockwell's counsel at my beck and call, I shall pass this trial with ease. Then the power of the gods will be mine to command. After studying my scouts' reports, I have concluded that few tribes remain who can successfully resist the new Legion's march. However, the island's snowy tundras are a matter of concern. The dominant tribe in the region, the Howling Wolves, are known to be fierce fighters. More importantly, a prolonged invasion would prove nigh impossible in that weather. Yes, for now I shall avoid the frozen north. Instead I will annex these smaller tribes, consolidate the new Legion's holdings, and investigate the obelisk of Rockwell. Perhaps their power can solve my northern conundrum. So yeah, the only time the Howling Wolves were mentioned was at the very beginning of Helena's notes. Oh jeez, where was I? 22. Yes, okay. That's where I stopped. Alright, but yeah. The only time the wolves were mentioned was when Helena was in the Tundra region, at the very beginning of her notes. So that's interesting. They managed to survive this long. The new legion needs a true capital, one that embodies our strength and grandeur. I realized that while recalling my first day in Rome. My hometown in Numidia had its wonders, but it could never match the splendor of the great city. I was in constant awe. Most on this island are consumed by the present, their immediate needs and struggles. Yet, a new generation will live within our walls one day. When they see what their forefathers have built, I want them to be as inspired as I was. I want to show them that no matter where they are born, their destinies are theirs for the taking. I mean, that's kind of a good thing, you know. I mean, you want people to be in charge of their destinies, or at least, you know, have some control over it. But this guy's a conqueror. He's going full Caesar on this. I've received disturbing news. Apparently the Beast Queen has resurfaced with an even larger contingent than before, and she's on the move. Worse still, she's traveling directly towards one of the obelisks. I can think of no worse snare than the obelisk falling into the most barbaric hands. She has always been a nuisance, but with their power, the Beast Queen would pose a dire threat to everything I have built. I must mobilize my main force and move to intercept her at once. The future of this island may hang in the balance. Yeah, from you, buddy. When my army arrived at the obelisk, I feared we were too late. The Beast Queen was nowhere to be found. I was about to order a search of the area when I was blinded by a flash of light. Suddenly, the barbarian horde was right before us, and a battle was joined. Though the savage possessed a fearsome new monster, it attacked ally and enemy alike. Yep, that was a giga. That was definitely a giga. If anything, its presence made the slaughter more complete. By the end, Beast Queen's forces were annihilated, and she herself had fled with mortal wounds. At last, her threat is ended. Interestingly, we also captured an acquaintance of Rockwell's during the battle. Perhaps she knows something about the obelisk that Rockwell does not. This is when he captured Helena, and I believe that's her in the picture. Walker had told us to expect some kind of monster after activating the obelisk, but I never imagined that we would battle one of Zeus's dragons. No, that's not right. It was too colossal and wild for even a god's chariot. I doubt Diana herself can control it, and yet the New Legion felled it. It cost the lives of many men, and even more beasts, but it was worth the sacrifice. According to Walker, the third key we acquired may allow me to open this cave she speaks of. Then the power of the obelisk and this very island will be mine to command. And those not versed in Roman mythology, Diana is basically Artemis. Diana is Artemis because Roman mythology and Greek mythology are kind of the same. They're pretty much alike, except they just have different names. So Diana in Roman mythology is Artemis in Greek mythology, and yeah. Those barbarians, they smell our weakness. Between our battles with the Beast Queen and the Dragon, the New Legion's main army has been distracted and depleted. Lesser tribes have taken advantage by raiding our camps and seizing territory that we claim with our blood and sweat. Fine, let them have their temporary victories. Let them imagine that they have inflicted real wounds upon us. When I obtain the power of the obelisks, they will pay for every blade of grass they take from me. With that power, I will make them know true regret. Jeez. 3 more. My men are uneasy. News reached us that the Howling Wolves are on the march, heading straight for the heart of the New Legion territory. Some want to turn back and defend our home. I understand the instinct, but they lack my foresight. Only Rockwell has the strength of mind to see my vision. We are nearly at the cave. Once I hold the power it contains, I can use it to crush the Howling Wolves and their petty forces. Whatever gains they make will be erased. I'll unite the entire island in a single glorious battle. Soon they'll see. Everyone will see. I am this island's destined emperor. I am its destined god. I had not expected to battle another monster, much less one so powerful. Yet here I stand, victorious. My men lie dead. My beasts lie dead. Yet I still stand. Even Rockwell has never seen anything like this place. Surely it is some hall of the gods. Surely the power of the obelisk is here, waiting for a worthy champion to wield it. With it, I will not need beasts or men. Its power alone will win me this island. I need only to find it and claim what is mine. Praise Janus for taking me here. Praise Mars for lending me his strength. I claim this great victory in your names. Oh. Okay, so a new monster. I would assume that's the boss of the Tek Cave, because it does have a boss. So here it is. Oh. And this entry, as you may notice, it's splattered in blood. Before I go on and read it, let's see if the last one is splattered in blood. It's not. Nothing. How can there be nothing? I search ceaselessly and yet I find nothing. I sacrifice my men, my kingdom, everything. I have nothing left to give. Everything I bled for is gone. For what? For a view? What trickery is this? What is this place? Am I the victim of some divine joke? I don't understand. I serve the Emperor loyally. Why would Janus pull me from his service if not to bring order here? I've cried out for answers, but the gods never respond. They have abandoned me. All I hear is my own voice, echoing in these accursed halls, betrayed, destitute, and alone. And that's it. That's all the notes. That's all Nerva's notes. And unlike Helena's, Rockwell's, and Mei-Yin's, that's it for Nerva's. He has no more notes. He has no more hidden notes. He has no notes in the Tek Cave. This is all of his. His story ends there. This parchment is splattered in blood, so I could only assume that he lost in the fight that he fought against Mei-Yin. This was their last battle, and he lost that one because Mei-Yin has a note that still needs to be read, but he doesn't. So that's pretty much the story of the ARK. I mean, so it starts with Helena as an Australian biologist, Edmund Rockwell, an English chemist, Mei-Yin, a warrior from the Three Kingdoms era, and Gaius Nerva, who comes from Rome, from ancient Rome. So yeah, Australia, England, ancient China, and ancient Rome. 4 different people, and their stories culminate. They reach its climax at the Tek Cave, and that's the place we are going on the next stream. Now, before I go, I just pretty much want to do a brief introduction to the rest of the crew, because, you know, what can I say? I mean, Chica she has been with me for a long time. I think out of everybody here, she's been here the longest, or she's one of the ones that have lived here the longest. And I actually caught her doing a Valentine's Day event, which explains the pink. Let me turn this off real quick. And she has helped me out through the other caves. I do have a graveyard out there that has my other birds, gravestones in memory of my other birds. Then we have Starter Bird, who helped me recover the birds Or rather, one time I lost my bird at the redwoods, and I found him by chance when I was trying to tame something and retrieve them. I didn't find them. I had thought I had lost Chica there forever, but I managed to find the other birds weeks later. Then we have Astrid, who was the first of my sloth army. I always brought her to the boss fight. Well, I brought her to the Broodmother boss fight, and she pretty much led the charge. Then I have Yuri. I had painted her purple, but apparently time in the cryopod removes the purple. Then we have Olive, who is the offspring of my two Sarkos, and she's helped with the underwater caves as well. And we have Barry Allen, who has done the same thing. He's really tough in a fight. But good grief, I've gone long enough. Next time I stream, next time I release an ARK episode, it'll be me, my tribe mates, taking on the Tek Cave, and that's gonna be the final video of the Island series. After that, we'll be going to Scorched Earth. So, I thank everyone for joining the stream. I've been pretty much up all night, wondering if I should continue to stream or not, and I decided to continue it. There actually was another one right before this one, but it got interrupted. It got interrupted because the game blue screen, and I thought, you know, should I just start over again like I intended to, or just finish it strongly? And I decided to just make 2 videos instead of just a long one. But my voice is hurting. My voice hurts. My throat hurts. My voice hurts. My voices don't hurt. My throat hurts. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. But yes, thank you everybody so much for watching. And I hope you can join me when we take on the Tek Cave and hopefully find out the truth about this place. So, take care and have a good day.